Hey folks, I'm just going to record a quick tutorial on how to use the pen tool in Photoshop. So if you enter in Photoshop, you'll see there's tutorial 4, and you should already be on that page if you're watching this. You're going to download the 2 photo files, and then once you do that, I just want you to drag the Rails photo into Photoshop, or you can hit open and pick the Rails photo. And you should end up with something like this. And then once you do that, you're just going to actually drag the Braden.jpg file over top. Once you drag it over top, if you add an image that way, it starts off in transformation mode, which means you can resize it and you can rotate it, etc. And it'll have an X through it like this. But at the top, you'll see there's the commit and reject button. So you're just going to hit commit, and now that photo's in here. So a mask is kind of like the eraser tool, but not quite. Essentially, everything you do in a mask is temporary, and you can remove it if you want. So it's a way of covering stuff up without removing it. It's very similar to how the old overhead projectors worked, where they had light shining through a clear piece of paper into a mirror that shined onto the screen, and sometimes your teacher would use paper to block off light, to block off sections of the paper. They just move the paper around and it would block off the what you would see on the projector. And masks work similar. You're blocking off parts of the layer. So what we're going to do is we want to make it look like Braden is in the Rails photo. So what we're going to start off with is we're going to make sure we're on the Braden photo, and then we need to switch to one of the selection tools. So for this, I would almost always just start off with the quick selection tool, and you're just going to start selecting, and you're just trying to get Braden selected there without the background. And of course you can use Alt on Windows or hold Option on Mac and zoom in, and you can make sure to add more. There's add and subtract at the top there, so you can change that if you want to add more or subtract some. And once you got kind of everything you want on here, you can zoom out and just make sure it looks like you have it selected how you want. And if you're satisfied with your selection, then you're going to go into the bottom right corner, and you're going to see there's this little, it's a white circle with a black dot in the middle, and you're going to click that. That's the add mask button, and what it does is it will remove anything that was not selected. But it's not actually removed. If you look in the corner here, you should see there's a little mask here, and it's a silhouette of Braden. So this is now masked, and you can see everything behind disappeared, and you can see the Rails image. But there's parts of the mask I'm not happy with. Like I made a little lump here by accident, and the t-shirt's not the smoothest. You can actually modify a mask after. So a mask is actually just a black and white layer with gray in the middle. And what happens is anything that is painted white shows through, any part that's painted black is blocked, and gray is transparent. So it's just like a overhead projector. If you painted black over top of it, it'll block it out, and white is where the light's shining through. So you can actually just click on the square where you see the mask, and you'll see our colors switch to grayscale automatically. And so you can just have a white and a black pen here. And if I turn on the pen and then go to the paintbrush tool, if your mask is selected, you can just paint on here, and you'll see white is making the background show up again. If I swap the colors, black is making it disappear. So you can re-add parts of the image that way. And you can always use all the different tools, switch the size of the brush, etc. So I'm just going to remove what I added there. And so if you want to fix your selection, you can actually zoom in and then use the brush and just paint black over top of where you want stuff to disappear. So that'll soften the side and remove that part. And I think his head's okay. I want to just smooth this out a bit, so I'm just going to take my brush and go down here, and it'll just block out the edge. And it's okay to cut off parts of the shirt, because if you're using a smooth brush, it'll make it look natural. So paint black, and oops, I went too far. I'll just switch to the white color and put it back. So this is how you kind of use your tool. You switch between black and white to add or subtract. And if you want to add a partial color, you can use gray. So if I go on here and I pick a gray color and paint, you'll see it's partially transparent. You can see both the background and the rail picture. So this is how to use masks and how to edit masks. If you didn't have that selection on there in the first place, if you just hit add mask, it'll add a fully white mask to start. So if there's no selection, the mask is just white, and then you can add your gray color to make parts transparent, or your black color to block stuff out. So just add in a mask by default, it starts off fully visible, and then you can block stuff out. So this is a nice way to just edit stuff if you are just touching up parts of the image. The other thing you can do, if you have a selection, it'll block everything that's not selected, and then you can go in and edit it afterwards. So each of these works. You just have to kind of use the tool to your advantage there. So that's how to use layers and masks. Just ask if you have any questions related to this. And otherwise, you're good to head on to the next tutorial.